What is good, Finn Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one. Please smash the like button on your way in. Subscribe if you're new, as we're on our way to 10K. We are just over 300 away from 10K, so let's get there. Happy Friday to everyone out there. It is the weekend, and it's also the weekend where we can get back on a winning streak. So a lot of good things hopefully happening this weekend for everyone. We got a lot to talk about as usual. We will go over the in-depth analysis. We'll go into the offensive and defensive keys to victory for the Miami Dolphins, my in-game matchup to watch. We'll go over the latest injury report. We'll talk about the Xavien Howard stuff that came out last night, even though that's so TMZ. An interesting article from the Miami Herald regarding some contracts. And then, even though I did it on the finish line, I want to bring it up again. We will go over, just Tua Tagovailoa's, where he ranks in a lot of major statistical and analytical categories right now, even after missing 3 games. So, and one thing I do want to talk about before we get into everything is I see Emmanuel Acho's catching a lot of heat for what he said about Justin Herbert, and he even doubled down yesterday and he said, Tua's better than Herbert. I see people are, it's crazy. It'd be one thing if Charger fans were getting their panties in the bunch, but the fact that a portion of our fan base is getting their panties in a bunch, it's crazy, man. First of all, I don't even give that kind of stuff the time of day. Second of all, I kind of agree with what some of Acho said, and I'll tell you what. And you guys saw, if you were watching me in the offseason, I felt Herbert was overhyped. I've been calling Herbert Phillip Rivers with a better arm since the moment his rookie season ended, because they just don't win in LA. The Chargers just don't win. They're just not a winning franchise. And I've literally been saying that. He's Phillip Rivers with a better arm. He's a more gifted Phillip Rivers. And I don't mean that he is Phillip Rivers, the player. I mean, look at all the numbers Phillip Rivers put up and what did he accomplish with them. That's what I feel, And you guys know when we were doing the, preseason, when we look at the power rankings and the quarterback rankings, when I saw Herbert in the top 5, you guys remember this? I saw him, the Ringer had him listed at number 3. I was flipping my lid. I'm like, what has this kid done? Just as much as Tua ain't done anything yet, what has he done? The only one that deserved to be in the top 5 conversation coming off of last year was Joe Burrow. The kid went to the freaking Super Bowl. Now, has he lived up to that this season? No, but what did I also say was one of the reasons I thought we would beat Cincinnati. I thought they were going to have a bit of a Super Bowl hangover, and we've seen that. Now they've lost Jamar Chase, so it'll be interesting to see how that season goes for them. But it was overhyped. Listen, that kid's arm is incredible. If you're talking about the prototypical size added on with his athleticism and his arm strength, listen, I'm not going to sit here and talk about arm talent, because everyone knows arm talent for me is when you talk about accuracy, ball placement, touch, etc., etc. And my issue with him has always been when you force him to the sidelines, you start seeing those issues arise, right? And, and timing with arm talent, So I think the guy's got, when you're talking about arm strength and you're talking about velocity and all that kind of jazz, sure. I think he's a smart kid, too. I don't think he's a dumbass. I mean, the guy's had an over 4.0 GPA, so I think he's a smart kid, right? I just think I've always talked about these type of quarterbacks before. They rely on their arm too much in terms of they can afford to be late on reads. They can afford for their timing and their anticipation to be a step behind, because they got so much velocity behind the football that thing gets there in a New York, never mind a New York minute, a New York second. So, listen, I don't want to get into the whole I'm not going to get it. I can't say Justin Herbert is overrated when you look at his physical gifts. And I mean what he did in his rookie season. But I can say he's overhyped. I agree with that 110%. And it's funny because a lot of the same people in the fan base defending him over Tua in our own fan base, which is crazy that I'm even talking about, you know, they're the same ones that want to talk about all the would-be, should-be, could-be interceptions Tua may have thrown. But they don't want to talk about winning as a quarterback stat. And what have I been telling y'all since the offseason? Winning becomes a quarterback stat after a couple years. You know, when you look at 5-10 years into a quarterback's career, go to whatever platform you want to watch your football on, CBS, Fox, whatever. They'll always bring up the win-loss column or a winning percentage, right? When they do coach and quarterback, greatest coach and quarterback duos of all time, what's one of the main things they hang their hat on? The win-loss record. See, wins do eventually become a quarterback stat. And what you're seeing right now is people are looking, and it's what I've been saying. Tua wins. Even in games where Tua is not blowing your socks off and not impressing you, he does enough to win. He does just enough to win. This is what I was talking about with that winner's DNA. Tua's a winner. I don't know what to tell you. Even in games he's not very good, he does enough to win. And like I said, I expected him to be not very good when I dived into the All-22 from last week. And then when I came out of it, I was like, wow, it's a lot better than what I thought. That Edmonds' third down and Edmonds' four down stuffs should have taken the ball out of his hands. He was cooking on that drive. Let alone Edmonds had the whole left side of the field on that fourth down. That should have been that was the right play call by Mike McDaniel, and it just came down to a lack of execution, which is what I was saying was the problem with a 3-game losing streak. But with Tua, even if it's ugly, we execute just enough. So, listen, I don't know what to tell you right now. Tua's winning 4-0 on this season. I told all y'all the numbers. I went over all of the numbers for you guys. Especially if you follow me on Twitter, I mean, you saw it. It's not even close right now. This team without Tua is averaging 16 points per game. It's not even close right now. That would be 31st in the NFL. That's why the points per game is so low right now. Remember, heading into week 4 against the Bengals, we were averaging 27.7 points per game, which was 8th best in the league. With Tua, in the 4 games he started and finished, the Dolphins are averaging 24.7 points per game, which would be tied with Cincinnati for 8th best in the NFL right now. So we score points with Tua. By that standard, we have the 8th best offense, scoring offense in the NFL when Tua starts. Again, the context. What's impacting that points per game number and wins overall? Everyone's acting like Tua was here the last 3 games before this one we just played. Sure, we only scored 16 points, but that's the lowest points of the season we've scored with him. And if Edmonds would have kicked it outside, we should have scored 23. And that would have been right on par with the 24 and 0.7 points, just under the 24.7 points of scoring right now with him at the helm. So, listen, 2-8, the reason this offense is sputtering. Again, we're coming down to a lack of execution. Mr. Edmonds. So, listen. I'm not going to sit here and say Herbert's overrated, but I will say he was massively overhyped coming into the season. And what's another thing I said about their defense? Everyone was like, oh, the Chargers defense. What did I say on every panel whenever I had someone up, or even when I talked to people privately? What did I say? Khalil Mack, well, he gets hurt. Nick Bosa, well, he gets hurt. Derwin James, well, he gets hurt. Now J.C. Jackson's hurt. They got all these injuries going on. You know what I mean? Like, Come on. Saw that coming from a mile away with that team. It's the Chargers. Everyone thinks we're bad. Listen, at least we've gotten, they got Herbert out of it, but I'm going to tell you all this. Think about that. Imagine that's what I always said, like when we used to be back on, do the panel, Tuesday night panel back in the day up until, now. You never want to be an 8-8 team consistently or a I apologize. There's 17 games now. A 9-8 team or an 8-9 team or a 10-7 team. You know what I mean? Just as much as you never want to be a 13-4 or 14-3 team that's constantly knocked out in the second round. You either be mediocre, never getting a good draft pick, or you're a fraud. And that's what the Chargers have always been. They've always fallen in that realm. Going back to, hey, everyone talks about us not making the move for Breeze. You remember, they let Breeze walk for Phillip Rivers. Now, did Phillip Rivers put up numbers? Sure. But let's all remember, when the writing would have been on the wall for me as a Chargers fan, and if I was in that front office, was LaDainian Tomlinson. That's when the writing would have been on the wall for me with Phillip Rivers. And you're probably asking, well, reason, what do you mean by that? Well, my issue would have been, you look at it, okay, the guy was an MVP in 2006, all right? And let's just go off, we can go off receiving too. But in 2006, he was an MVP. Then he put up 1,400 yards. You know what I mean? Like, the guy put up basically 3,300 yards and 43 touchdowns in 2 years. And they didn't do Jack Bo Diddley. You know what I mean? So, and the other thing too, right? I don't know what to say. Phillip Rivers, you know what I mean? 2006, that MVP season when he took over, right? And then 2007, and Phillip, when they had LaDainian Tomlinson and they didn't make it happen, it was just clearly obvious it was never going to be. So, and with Phillip Rivers, I think Drew Brees with that, even though it was Phillip Rivers' rookie season, if you would have signed Drew Brees and he would have had that run game, I think Drew Brees would have lit up the league that year. So that's when the bad decisions started for them, and it just snowballed. I've never been a believer in Phillip Rivers. And he was just a stat patter. You know what I mean? Basically what people were trying to claim Matt Stafford was before he won a Super Bowl. That's how I look at Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers is always. Yeah, Fouts was the man. Dan Fouts was the man. But, think of how long you got to go back for that. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Anyways, I'm not here to get in the middle of whether Tua or Herbert is better. All I'll say is right now, what do you want to say? Right now, you got to put up. It's about what you value more. I believe it's the second or third best winning percentage in a quarterback's first 3 years Tua has since I think the 2018, since if you count all the quarterbacks drafted since 2018, he's second or third best, I believe. In terms of winning percentage, only Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson are better than him, I believe. It's what do you want, that, or do you want the stats and what Herbert did in his rookie year? Because that rookie year was 2 years ago. What have you done for me lately now? What's crazy for me when I saw about Herbert, did y'all know Herbert's thrown the third most interceptions since he was drafted? I thought that was actually kind of crazy. Now, albeit, how many times has Herbert thrown the actual football? So his interception percentage, it provides context to that number, and it's not as bad. So, listen, I'm not going to sit here and say the kid's overrated, but I will say he's definitely overhyped. That guy's got to make just as much as we all need Tua to make the playoffs. That guy needs to start making the playoffs too. I mean, what's good with all these numbers? I mean, hollow numbers. It's the same thing we talked about. Teddy's 329 yards, right? Before Tua came back. Hollow numbers in that Vikings game, I believe it was. Those numbers meant nothing. Garbage time. The guy had only thrown for like 100 yards in the first 3 quarters. Garbage time. They needed to play off and soft coverage. And then he started getting yards. Stop. Stop right now. So, why is LA trying to trade Cam Akers? I have no reason what the discourse is between the franchise and the running back, but it's clearly evident something bad's not, they're not on the same page over there. So, yeah. All right. That said, let's get into this game preview. We got a lot to go over. We'll get into the game preview. We got an article I want to go over. I want to look at some of what Mike McDaniel said in his press conference because some of it is of importance. As we get ready, baby, let's go. I believe. That's all I know. I believe. I got a really good feeling about this weekend. I know some people are worried, but me, I'm good. Let me do something here. All right. So, let's get into this. Let's start off with your weather report, which is easy peasy lemon squeezy, as my daughter would say. It is overcast outside, but we in a dome, baby. Screw the climates of the earth. We on the turf. All right? And what does that mean? Why does that matter? That matters because of this. Speed kills on turfs. I mean, hey, there's a reason why they call them the greatest show on turf, not the greatest show on natural grass field. And it could rain, snow, hail outside, and ain't nothing affecting the trajectory of the football when it comes out of Tua's hands, unless someone gets their hands up and bats the football. So, listen. The dome is home. The dome is home. Controlled climate, be blessed. Let's get it. Against this week of a defense, let's get it. Oh, baby. First favor headed our way is that. All right? Now, I know some people don't like turf because there could be injuries, and I get that. I agree with that. But, hey, let me tell you something. Scared money don't make no money. And we about to get banked this weekend in Detroit. All right? We about to get banked in Ford Field. Let y'all know. So, now, speaking of injuries, because, I mean, something you got to be worried about with something like this, with the turf, is a guy like Armstead in his toe, right? I mean, let's call a record. Let's call what it is. Hadrian wants Tua's record on turf. I have no idea, but all I know is, brother, the last time he was in a dome, the New Orleans Saints felt the wrath on Monday night, baby. Let's go. Let's go. All right. Primetime Tua, baby. Injury report is as follows. It is extensive. The first time we are seeing a team with an extensive list. All right. Here we go. Deshaun Elliott, one of their best safeties, out. Charles Harris, Dolphin fans might remember, out for the Lions. Mike Hughes, out. Chase Lucas, out. They're dealing with corner depth issues as well. On top of that, I mean, it is injury city for them. Melifononwu is out as well for them. I mean, it is extensive for the Detroit Lions. Now, what does matter is Amon-Ra St. Brown was a full participant today, so he's back out of concussion protocol. He's good to go. Decker's good to go. Hawkinson's good to go. Frank Ragno's good to go. Josh Reynolds, their leading receiver, is good to go. And DeAndre Swift is officially back now. Now, when you look at us, it's just a bunch of questionables. Obviously, Austin Jackson and Byron Jones are not good to go. But it looks like everyone's coming back, baby. We're back, baby. Keon Crossan, he was a full participant today. Kader Kahu, full participant today. Greg Little's back, so we got depth back. We are good to go. Now, Emmanuel Ogbah, he is also a full participant. Taron Armstead did not participate today, but he was limited yesterday, so that means he'll be good to go. Thomas Morstead, I think he's going to be good to go. Everyone, it looks like we're all, like, guys, dun, 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 we're as healthy can be right now. I mean, everyone, we're coming back, baby. We're back. Don't like seeing Tua's left hand on the injury report, though. I'll be the first one to say that. But, I mean, the team's getting healthy. Now you know why they haven't made any drastic move right away or any, knee-jerk reaction move. I mean, the deadline isn't until November 1st. We win, we're 5-3, and you know where you gotta be a player at. So, man, positive injury report. It's about damn time, if I may say so myself. Please. Guys, again, smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new. If you'd like to donate to the channel, you could do so through the super chat. Also, you can do through PayPal. So YouTube don't take their 30% through PayPal. PayPal.me/Finside. Appreciate any donations. Man, I appreciate all of y'all just smashing the like button, subscribing. Appreciate just sharing. Hey, anything you can do, I appreciate it from all of you. All right? Now, let's get into how these teams stack up as we head into this week 8 matchup under the dome of Ford Field. So, the Dolphins, 10th ranked total offense right now, 367 yards per game. The Lions are the 4th ranked. They're averaging 395.2 yards per game. Passing offense, they are the 9th best passing offense. They're averaging about 249.5 yards per game. The Dolphins are the 3rd best passing offense. They are averaging about 281.6 yards per game. Now, I want to say this. Now, you look at their passing offense. You look at Jared Goff. Jared Goff's been struggling lately, right? Jared Goff's struggled the last 2 weeks, and we'll get into it when we get into the keys. But, Jared Goff's last 2 games, the struggles are beginning for Jared Goff in that offense, it seems, potentially. So, anyways, continuing on. The rushing offense, 7th best in the NFL for the Lions, averaging 145.7, while the Dolphins, 29th, averaging only 85.4, which is terrible because Raheem Mostert is averaging 4.5 yards per carry. Feed him the rock. Stop, if Chase Edmonds shows you early on he ain't the guy, keep it going, man. Seriously. Just keep it going. Don't play. Real talk. Stop playing with it. Just feed the rock to Raheem. He's averaging 4.5 yards per carry. The guy's one of the few guys that gets off the bus consistently. Now, in terms of their 145.7 rushing yards per game, What's crazy to me when you look at that is Jamal Williams has done a great job in relief. Now, DeAndre Swift, he's played 3 games. He's averaging 8.6 yards per carry. DeAndre Swift. He's got 27 carries for 231 yards and 1 touchdown. But Jamal Williams, he's averaging 4.5 yards per carry, just like Raheem. He's got 411 yards and 6 rushing touchdowns. So, where DeAndre Swift can also kill you, though, is he also has 8 receptions for 77 yards and a touchdown. That man is very deadly out of the backfield. He was like that for Georgia, coming out of the draft, and I think he was my second rated running back to Jonathan Taylor. So, I'm just saying. Now, anyways, continuing on. Scoring offense, they score 24.3 points per game. The Dolphins, they are scoring 21 points per game, which is 19th. Sacks allowed, again, they've only given up 12 sacks, which is 7th best in the NFL. We've given up 15, which is 16th. Now, you will see the right side of their offensive line does not give up very many pressures to begin with. And we'll get into that in our keys of victory as well. Third down offense is fairly similar, both around 36.5%, conversion percentage. Now, defense is where it gets ugly for the Lions. And this is where the Dolphins need to take advantage. These guys are allowing 412.2 yards per game. That's the worst in the NFL. The Dolphins are averaging 358.4 yards allowed per game, which is 21st. Passing defense. Now, they still have a decent passing defense. They're only allowing about 249.3 yards per game. The Dolphins, they're allowing about 255. Goff, he's getting about 263 yards per game through the air. Now, Tua, in terms of that 249 yards per game that's being allowed right now by them. Listen, when Tua's playing, it's happening. I mean, he already has almost 1,300 yards in only in only 5 games total. 4 of those were actual starts, right? And right now, Tua, he's averaging about 259.2 yards per game, and he also has a 3-to-1 touchdown ratio at 9 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. So, continuing on, rushing defense, the Lions, they allow about 162.8 yards per game. That is freaking awful. That's why you got to feed Raheem. They're just begging for you to give Raheem Mostert the football. Now, you look at us, we're only allowing 103.3 yards per game, which is 7th best in the NFL. So, look at 7th best run defense against the 7th best rush offense. What an intriguing matchup that could be. In the 3rd best passing offense against the 22nd passing defense. And then which one's going to break? The 29th rushing offense of Miami or the 30th rushing defense of the Lions? Now, scoring defense. They allow 32.3 points per game, so the points are going to come. They don't get sacks either. They only have 9 sacks on the season. But there is a man on that defense that gets pressures and is balling when he's healthy. The Dolphins, they have 14 sacks, which is 19th best in the NFL. Third down defense, right now, the Lions are 31st in the NFL. They're allowing almost a 50% conversion clip at 47.9. The Dolphins 22nd, allowing 41.6 conversion clip. Takeaways, the Dolphins are 7th, where they are 25th in giveaways. They've given the ball away 11 times already. I mean, Goff's been a turnover machine. Takeaways, now they've only have 5 takeaways, and we only have 9 giveaways. So I don't see them forcing a lot. Unless we shoot ourselves in the foot, I don't see a lot of errors. Now remember, these teams don't meet often, right? We haven't been to Ford Field since November 9th, 2014. And the last time we won at Ford Field was when Joey Harrington was leading the Miami Dolphins on Thanksgiving Day. I remember that game. It was crazy. And, you know, a win on Sunday, that would give us a 5-3 start for just the third time in the past decade, because we started 5-3 in 2014 and 2020 as well. So, yeah, a lot to take in. Big weekend. Big weekend. Let's keep getting back to these winning ways, baby. All right, let's get into our offensive and defensive keys to victory for the Miami Dolphins against the Detroit Lions. Let's start off with the offensive keys to victory for the Dolphins. You're going to have to extinguish the threat of Aiden Hutchinson. Guys, he is good. I don't know what else to tell you. He has been phenomenal in his start in the games he's played. I mean, this man already has 19 pressures. Aiden Hutchinson is doing the damn thing right now. All right? He has 4.5 sacks, guys. 3 tackles for losses. The guy is an absolute stud. I said he should have been picked over Travon Walker. I didn't get the Travon Walker hype. Aiden Hutchinson was a difference maker. And he is good right now because guess what? The next guy to him is John Kaminsky, one of their interior players with 10 pressures. They don't get sacks unless it's Aiden Hutchinson. All right? They just don't. Isolate him, neutralize him, and the only other guy you got to worry about is at a linebacking core, Anzalone. He has, what, a sack and a half. Anzalone, sorry. Alex Anzalone. He has a sack and a half. They don't get a ton of pressure. So if you neutralize Aiden Hutchinson, you are pretty much neutralizing their pass rush. All right? This kid is good. Number 2 for me is the old Marino saying, pick a guy and God damn it, let it fly. All right? When you look at coverage right now, first of all, these guys play a ton of man. We are going to see a ton of man coverage. All right? That's what they've shown at least up until this point. They run a ton of man. And right now they are giving up yards. Okuda's already given up 271 yards. I know Hughes is out, but he's giving up 246. Or Urare has given up, 242? Malcolm Rodriguez, the second level linebacker, and Alex Anzalone, they've both given up 136 and 135. I mean, these guys give up yards through the air, and they give up touchdowns. So, right now in coverage this year, I mean, they've already given up 9 touchdowns in coverage. So, pick a guy and let it fly. If they play a lot of man and they don't got, who's going to cover what we have in their secondary? Please, tell me who. No one. They got nothing. And, I mean, I don't know what to tell y'all. It is Mostert's time to shine. Listen, we've gone over it. This is a run defense giving them 162.8 yards per game. I don't care who it is. Now, I would put my money on Mostert. I wouldn't put it on Edmonds, that's for sure. But someone better get it done. Because this team is so easy. to run the football on. And there is really no excuse. So I feel like if you neutralize Aiden Hutchinson, if you pick a guy and let it fly, and that run game gets going, we could run away with this. We could definitely run away with this game. So, yeah. That's where I'm at with this. You know, the offense, I mean, guys, this is not a tough task. This should be easy. This should not be a difficult outing. We should put up points. And I think a lot of us would be vastly disappointed if they didn't, or will be vastly disappointed if they don't, right? Hey, listen, we talked about it on the finish line. If Tua is going to re-enter the MVP race, here's your chance, kid. Here is your chance, kid. So, yeah, here's your chance, kid. That's all I'm gonna say. This is your chance to get back into the MVP race. It's right here. So let's get it done. All right? That's all I got to say. Here's your chance. You have been provided with an opportunity. It's right in front of you. This defense is not very good, and it's in a dome. Get it done, kid. All right? Now, defensively, this is what it looks like for me here. Goff has thrown 5 interceptions in his last 4 starts. Keep the turnovers coming. We're coming off a 3-turnover performance. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. All right? Goff has not been pretty the last few games. Take advantage of that. I mean, look at it against Dallas. Yeah, he's 21-26, but he threw for 228 yards and 2 interceptions. New England, 19-35, 229 and an interception. Seattle, he did really well against, right? 378 yards, 4 touchdowns, and interception. Minnesota, 25-41, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, and he was really good against Washington near the beginning of the year there. So, listen, but the last set of games, the turnovers are coming, baby. The turnovers are coming. So, and he's been sacked. You know, last game he was sacked 5 times. So if Jalen Phillips can continue to be dominant, hello. You know what I mean? Now, the run defense and containment can't have an off day against DeAndre Swift. We cannot see a Breece Hall coming out party all over again, people. Sorry. Can't afford it. Because DeAndre Swift will, I think he'll kill you a little bit more than Breece Hall. Don't let this guy get going. Please. This man is averaging, like I said right now, 8.6 yards per carry. He's already had, listen, he's only played 3 games and he already has 2 50-yard runs. Also, he's averaging 9.6 yards per reception. Don't let DeAndre Swift get going. Please. Good God Almighty. And because it's always these running backs always get their legs under them against us. You can't let it happen. Shout out to Darth Logan. He says, let's get my man to 10K subs. Like, sub, share the show. Please do what Darth Logan is saying. Like, sub, share. And hey, if you're feeling frisky, donate. Show some love. All right. Now, third one here is the left side of their offensive line is very leaky. And it is. Guys, it doesn't matter whether it's Taylor Decker out there. It doesn't matter, or whether it's Dan Skipper out there on that side. Right now, Taylor, they have 31 pressures on that left side allowed. It is not pretty on that left side for them. And because Jonah Jackson, I mean, y'all saw the injury report, right? One of their key offensive linemen, he's banged up right now. He's questionable. He'll probably end up going. But even if he does go, I mean, even, you know, he's been their best guy. But when they've had Dan Skipper there and when they've had Taylor Decker is still allowing pressures. It's Penei Sewell, Stenberg, and Jonah Jackson and Frank Ragnow have been the steady of that when they've been playing. But Jonah Jackson has been in and out of the lineup, and that's afforded Dan Skipper. I mean, he's played in 4 games already, so it'll be interesting to see if Skipper and Decker are out there. Oh boy, we might be able to have a field day off that left side. It might be a chance for Jalen Phillips to eat. So, yeah, the left side, very leaky. Very, very leaky. So that's where you can get your pressure from. Now, in terms of matchup to watch, I could have gone so many different ways here. What I basically went with, because again, I could have gone so many different ways. I could have gone, you know, Goff against our secondary, you know, DeAndre Swift against our front seven. But again, I look at what they have, and I had to go our weapons, Mostert, Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Gesicki, and the distributor, Tua, against, you know, their defense. How are they going to stop? Like, I went full-blown, our weapons against their defense. How are they going to stop? If we neutralize Aiden Hutchinson, how are they stopping anything right now? I don't see it. I didn't even go our offense. I just said our weapons. You know, who's stopping Mostert out of the backfield? Who's stopping Waddle, Tyreek in the secondary? Who's stopping Gesicki on that second level, potentially a linebacker? I just don't see how they have anything to stop what we have offensively, weapon-wise. I really don't. And again, a team that is 32nd in total defense. They allow 412.2 yards per game, 162.8 of those on the ground. They allowed 32.3 points per game, worst in the NFL. I don't know. I think this is like the biggest mismatch. Our weapons against all 3 of their levels is such a mismatch for me. Such a mismatch that I had to make it the matchup to watch. Because it could get pretty for us and ugly for them. Let's be honest. And why might it? Because look at who's distributing the football. Look at this right now. Right now, Tua, 4th best passer rating in the NFL. 3rd best QBR. 3rd best EPA per play. 1st in DVOA. 1st in yards per attempt. 2nd in adjusted net yards per attempt. 7th on 3rd down conversion passes. 12th on 3rd and 8 or more conversion passes. Third and fourth down success rate, he's 7th best in the NFL. Passer rating on third down, first. Passer rating on fourth quarter, first. EPA per play in the fourth, first. Air yards per attempt from PFR, 8. From Next Gen Stats, 11th. From RBSDM.com, 7th. From Sports Info Solutions, 6th. And then air yards per completion from PFR, he's 2nd. From Next Gen Stats, he's 4th. And look at no yak help. Averaging 5.1 yak per completion, which is 15th best. The percentage of yak of his total pass yards is 39.9%, which is 30th in the NFL. Accuracy, his on-target percentage is 8th according to PFR, while it's 28th by Sports Info Solution, but his catchable pass percentage by Sports Info Solution is 12th. This is the point guard of the offense. This is why Waddle gets better. This is why Tyreek gets better. It's a simple formula. All those analytics show you exactly why. Now, continuing on here, let's take a look at McDaniel's. I chopped up his presser today. It was like 19 minutes. I chopped it down to 10 minutes. He talked about some key things I want to go over with you guys. So let's take a look at that stuff, all right?
Ask you about trade deadline.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of football.
Yeah,
right?
sort of. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have occasion to talk to your players about the trade deadline, and if they see their name in rumors, do you talk to them, or do you just kind of trust them?
Oh no, I address it if their name's out there, because for the most part, you know, that like I've said before when I'm talking about trade stuff is, you know, that the reason why there's a head coach and a general manager is because that's how much stuff is going on. Head coach has to worry about the football. General manager is talking to other teams incessantly about how to make the roster the very best from a business standpoint. And it's misleading when people's names are out there because there's a lot of discussions about stuff. But when that does occur, generally it's not, you know, for the most part, there's a lot of stuff that isn't real. So I'll be forthright with players in that regard. But outside of that, you know, I think the players understand that it's a business as well,
Mm-hmm.
and that is viable unless they have a no trade clause. So that's kind of how I proceed. I don't try to when someone comes to me and says that stuff's out there, I'll address it then.
With Raheem, I mean, how have you seen him, you know, the past couple of weeks really take on that workload and respond from that? You know, obviously he's a year from that injury now, and it seems like you guys are just putting more on his plate as the weeks go on.
No, he's hungry,
Yep.
and you know, I forgot that you brought up the analogies to Raheem Mostert. We say press every run one gap at a time, and it's kind of like riding a wave, surfing, because you're taking it right there, and then all of a sudden you go downhill, but then the wave takes you back out. You know, analogies. Yeah, but he's handled it great because he's hungry. You know, and he's been a guy that you want to talk about living in adversity and overcoming. It's one of the reasons he is who he is and where he's at today.
The dream, Raheem, the dream,
and
baby.
As he continues to be very productive for us
RB1.
on every touch he gets, you know, guys feed off of it, and you know, you end up getting more touches. So he's handled it awesome. He's always has been, you know, one of the best teammates that I've ever been around. You know, coming from all of, you know, his whole background where he got cut 900 times, and you know, he's never one to do anything but embrace productivity from other people in his room. He's a great teammate in that regard.
I love that
and so,
kid, man.
Guys definitely appreciate that and get really excited when he's able to make plays, which is what he does.
I can't wait.
So,
the long one's coming this year.
He will, he is capable of doing any and everything, really, when he's healthy. So he's done a great job keeping himself healthy, and we we'll keep
Raheem.
pressing forward, hoping for that to
You
continue.
are the dream.
Coach, you cut your penalty numbers way down in that game against Pittsburgh. No turnovers, and remember you'd spoken after the Minnesota game about you taking it in the eyes as the head coach to get the team to fix some of the mistakes. Was there a particular message you talk about, your teaching methods that you think got across to them, and how do you keep that going moving forward?
No, that's why football is so cool, because it is a team accomplishment through and through. So it's one of the reasons I don't look at, I look at my job as I'm supposed to set vision and motivate and, have all that stuff going on, but it doesn't matter if you have all the great stuff to say if players don't do it. Or so whether that's the messaging that was that good, my knee jerk is that emphasized it and the players did something about it. To me, we have a great group of individual players that collectively respond to points of emphasis. So it was a point of emphasis, but there was just run-of-the-mill English with some examples. Really, the people that deserve credit are the players that said, okay, I agree with you. I'm going to do something about it. And you watch how Jalen Waddle, for instance, was running in space against the Steelers. That lesson from the game before didn't fall on deaf ears for him.
It's true.
You saw people really prioritize it, and even on the other side of the ball, the defense went after it too. And I think guys were, the players were sick of hurting ourselves with penalties, and so we were fortunately able to have a cleaner game. But it's as simple as the players took it upon themselves to make sure it didn't happen on the field, and that's
this is a big line.
That's what good teams do, is they fix problems. They don't let them linger.
110%. Biggest line he said. That's what good teams do. They fix problems. They don't let it linger. I agree.
That's it?
16 on the injury report. That's such a big number. I'm curious, at what point does that number become so big that it not only affects those players' ability to prepare for Sunday's game, but the entire team's?
You hit it dead on the head. And that's why I like you, Hal. It's not just because you have alliteration in your name, which I am fond of too. But that it affects everyone, not just the players that are hurt. So with a list like that, you have to address how you're practicing. That was the reason on Wednesday we didn't do. We adjusted kind of our format of practice for the first time on a Wednesday to react to that, so there wouldn't be trickle down to the players that were able to practice. Those are the things that are very common. They fluctuate. They're common in that there'll be a fluctuation during a season of a ton of guys that have dings on them. So it's important that you have a team that is capable of adjusting your schedule to the needs of what the players need, but can handle it appropriately, so that, hey, if you tone down a period 2 or maybe tone down an entire day and it becomes from full speed to maybe jog through, that there's not a give in the attention to detail or the intensity. As a matter of fact, there's an uptick in how focused you are, knowing that this exercise is much more mental than physical. Those are the things that, talking to the team, that we have to be capable of doing for situations like this. I think they've handled this particular one very, very well, and I'll always adjust things. And as the season goes, you take reps off There's too many guys down at a position, then you adjust a period. But I don't like you guys know, nothing's absolute for me. So always adjusting.
Do you know of anyone at this early stage who's either doubtful or out for Sunday?
Nope.
Do I?
The question is out or doubtful. I don't think anyone's out.
I don't think I do.
Is Mostert back today, by the way?
Yeah, well, he's going to be like this is like classic. I feel like the team is morphing into the coach where nothing's absolute. So we have a bunch of guys that like really want to play together, and that is genuine as I can explain it, and that do everything in their power to try to play, which leaves a ton of questionables at the end of the week. So that's kind of the reason. It's because there's a lot of guys working through injuries that were just made up. Credit to the individual players, the locker room, and Chris Greer for guys that having a collection of guys that want to play football with each other and not just collect a check.
Yep.
And
but true.
As far as we're concerned, Fridays, Saturdays, deciding the who's going to be up, it is kind of cumbersome because you're adjusting, having backup plans all over the board. But at this point, we don't have anybody that is out. There's some varying degrees of questionability. So we'll press forward there.
Huge. So a couple things obviously to take away from there. Mostert, he's good to go. I know everyone is quite worried. I mean, we didn't even sign a punter, so they probably weren't that scared to begin with anyways. Obviously, the message got through, and we played a really clean game other than Liam Eichenberg against the Steelers penalty-wise, which was really impressive. And his adoration for Raheem Mostert doesn't go unnoticed. And as far as the trade deadline, hey, we're getting close. We're getting close. And class act of him to basically say, hey, if people are hearing their name out there floating around and someone comes to me, I will have a talk with them and let them know what the deal is. So classy stuff. And also describing how, they're dealing and preparing with all this adversity. I mean, 16 players were listed as limited after Thursday, and adjusting practice, adjusting how you practice, all that kind of jazz. I mean, it's been an adversity-filled first 7.5 weeks for Mike McDaniel, that's for sure. Now, something else I wanted to show you guys here. From Barry Jackson. Key contract issues to keep in mind as Dolphins season unfolds. Who's safe, who's not? How will contracts impact who's on the Dolphins and who's not next season? Some details on 6 players in one position group overall. The Dolphins must hope that Ogba resumes being as impactful as he has been the past 2 seasons because they're essentially married to him next season. Ogba is off to a slow start after signing a 4-year, $65 million deal. He has 1 sack and 10 tackles in 6 games and missed last week's game with a back injury. He's optimistic about playing this weekend. Keep in mind that Ogba's $15 million salary for 2023 is entirely guaranteed, and his $17.3 million 2023 cap hit would mushroom to $21 million if he's cut before June 1st and would stay $17 million if he's cut after June 1st. So the Dolphins need Ogba to regain his 2020 and 2021 magic when he had 18 sacks and led the league in batted passes. Realistically, they cannot move on from his deal before 2024. Wilkins is positioned to get a big contract for 2024 and beyond. Wilkins' $10.8 million salary for 2023 is fully guaranteed, and his 23 cap hit would be $10.8 unless he's traded. He leads all NFL defensive linemen with 39 tackles after leading defensive linemen with 89 last season. PFF rates him the 10th best interior defender this season. Pass rush numbers are modest, but Wilkins has become a very good player. There is some flexibility with the linebacker group after this season. At linebacker, it's doubtful that Miami would move off of Jerome Baker, but keep in mind that none of his $8.4 million salary next year is guaranteed. $8.4 million is guaranteed. His $11.9 million cap hit number in 2023 shrinks to $6.25 $5 million if he's cut or traded before June 1st, and drops to $3.1 million if he's cut after June 1st. Considering Orlando Robertson, Duke Riley, and Melvin Ingram signed one-year deals, and Andrew Van Ginkel will be a free agent next March, the Dolphins have the flexibility to reshape much of their linebacker room, excluding Jalen Phillips and Channing Tindall if they choose to. So this linebacker group, which has done a nice job in the wins, must continue to play well. As far as Miami's high-priced cornerbacks are concerned, Xavien Howard is too good and young to believe his early struggles are the byproduct of anything beyond the multiple groin injuries. Under his restructured contract, he has a small base salary in 2023 that's fully guaranteed, plus a prorated bonus of $8.8 million. His reasonable $10.1 million cap number in 2023 swells to $33.1 if he's cut before June 1st and $31.9 if he's traded before June 1st. If he's cut after June 1st, his cap hit would be $9.9 million. Bottom line, Howard isn't going anywhere. He remains a player to build around, but everyone must hope that he returns to elite form. As for Byron Jones, there's uncertainty when he will be ready to play after the March surgery on his Achilles ankle injury that was expected to be healed by early July. Instead, he had a setback and hasn't yet triggered the 21-day period when a player can practice but stay on the physically unable to perform list before his team must activate him or cut him or put him on season-ending IR. If he doesn't play this season or returns and plays poorly, keep in mind that his $13.5 million salary is non-guaranteed in 2023. He has a big 2023 cap hit, $18.9 million, and that cap hit drops to $14.8 million if he's cut before June 1st, but $4.8 million if he's cut after June 1st. So if the Dolphins want to release him after the season, waiting until after June 1st makes the most sense. Dolphins also could try to restructure him with the purpose of keeping him. Dolphins have already revised Jones' contract to have $5.3 million dead money hit in 2025 and a $2.7 million hit in 2026, even though he can become a free agent after 2024. Edmonds needs to play much better during the second half of the season to give the Dolphins a reason to pay his $5.7 million in 2023. None of that money is guaranteed. His 2023 cap hit drops to $6.6 million to $600,000 if he's cut. Edmonds is averaging just 2.8 yards per carry on 106 carries. Despite a career 4.5 rushing average, he has dropped 4 passes and caught 10 for 96. The Dolphins need to make it work with Cedric Wilson, who has just 4 receptions and played 90 snaps because 5 of his $7 million salary next year is guaranteed. His $8 million cap hit in 2023 would drop to $1 million if he's cut after June 1st. Keeping him and making it work or trading him before next Tuesday's deadline or in February or March would be sensible options because of the guaranteed money. So the interesting thing for me there is when you look at Byron Jones and the linebacking core. Byron Jones, man, none of that money is guaranteed in 2023. And after June 1st, that $4.8 million cap hit, that's easy to swallow. So, and that linebacking core, man, drops to 3.1 if he's cut after June 1st breaker. You can get out of that money. You can reshape that whole linebacking core. I mean, damn. I mean, that is a very interesting thing. With the draft, you could reshape that linebacking core and that corner room behind X. But we got Trill coming up. He'll be back next year. Kadir Kahoo's turning into something, crossing something. So we got options. Very interesting, though, when you look at the cap structures heading into next year. And Chase Edmonds, you better step it up because ain't nothing promised to you, my friend. And then, if you didn't see yesterday, Xavien Howard was sued. Woman alleges he knowingly gave her an STD. A woman filed a lawsuit against the Miami Dolphins quarterback Xavien Howard on Thursday in Broward County Circuit Court, accusing him of knowingly giving her genital herpes, according to Devon Dekute and Daniel Oifusi of the Miami Herald. The woman says in her lawsuit that the pair first met in 2018. Howard said he didn't have STDs and showed her test results confirming as much. She said that he contracted herpes in 2019 but didn't inform her. With knowledge of his incurable sexually transmitted disease and without disclosure, defendant Howard continued to engage in unprotected sex with the plaintiff without informing her of same. So the woman tested positive for genital herpes in 2021. It says in that lawsuit that Howard is the only person who could have given it to her. She said that Howard ultimately apologized after initially denying it. Man, I've been told you I was sorry for giving it to you. Howard told her, according to the lawsuit. But what can I do now? The damage is done. You keep bringing it up as if it's going to change something, like your ass can't move on. She's seeking damages of more than $30,000 and has requested that the trial be heard in front of a jury. Howard, 29, is in his 7th season with the Dolphins, a 3-time Pro Bowler and 1-time first-team All-Pro, has registered 15 tackles and 5 passes defended. This season, he has 27 interceptions on his career. Listen, I don't usually like to cover this whole TMZ stuff. I don't know what to tell you, right? Handle your business, and your private life shouldn't be leaking out into the public like this X. You know, just keep it in the pants, bro. Good God Almighty. Make these women sign the NDAs, bro. I don't know what else to tell you. All right? I don't like talking about this whole TMZ kind of stuff. We're here to talk football and Miami Dolphins. I'm bringing it up because if this ends up turning into the league getting involved, at least I covered it. We'll see. Guys, I am going to be live on Sunday. We will be doing the live reaction. Now, my prediction for the game is as follows. I think the Dolphins are going to win 31-17. That's what I have Miami handling the business. All right. 4 touchdowns and a field goal. I think we're going to get turnovers. I think we're going to have a good field position. I just think there's going to be a lot of chances to make plays. And I think last week we saw a defense that made adjustments and is better coached, far better coached than the team we're going to face this weekend. Listen, I like Dan Campbell, but let's not sit out here and act like Dan Campbell is Mike Tomlin. So I ain't worried. I ain't scared. I like our chances in getting this dub. Guys, I will see you on Sunday. I'll be live around 12:30, 12:45 before the game. Until then, you know what time it is. Fins up all day, every day. Enjoy your weekend and your Friday, everyone.